Hello, I'm Salome. In the following video, I will present the analysis of gender differences in labor market. Historically, there were always considerable gender differences in pay and employment levels, as well as in the types of activities that men and women performed in the labor market. However, women have made major inroads in labor markets throughout the past century. Their labor force participation has grown significantly in the last 70 years. However, there still remains persistent gaps in the economic standing of women and men. As we can see on the gap has narrowed considerably. As of now, the labor force participation rate for women is under 47% worldwide, while for men it is 72%. There is no considerable progress in Georgian labor market at this point. As we can see on the graph from 2008 to 2020, the activity level for men was 20% higher on average than for women. A big gender wage gap has also been a significant problem in Georgia for many years. Average wages paid to women are 33.2% lower than those paid to men. To understand gender differences in labor market outcomes, we need to focus both on demand-side explanations and on supply-side constraints. First, turn to supply-side explanations. Generally, men and women behave very differently in the labor market. Men supply more workforce on labor market than women. One key constraint for women to supply labor is their primary role in raising and caring for children. On becoming a parent, women are more likely than men to leave employment, and if they remain in work, they tend to favor family-friendly working conditions. These include flexible schedules and shorter hours. Dominant cultural perceptions in the country also influence the level of activity of women. A large majority of population considers that men should work and women should take care of household and children. There are gender differences in tastes for amenities, and also men and women have different preferences for risk and competition. Let's discuss the last two differences. Women generally value high amenity jobs more than men, and high amenity jobs are often less productive. Therefore, women might sort into low productivity jobs. Workers gain skills more quickly in highly productive environment. Then part of the gender of productivity difference could be due to women being stuck in low-end jobs where human capital grows slowly. The differences in wages due to different marginal revenue products of workers is represented here on the graph. The steeper line represents higher marginal revenue product of the worker that is associated with higher income, while D1 curve that is lower marginal revenue product leads to a lower wage of worker. Now about risk aversion. Lab experiments have often found that men are more tolerant of risks than women. Hedonic wage theory suggests that job-related risks are typically rewarded by higher mean earnings, and high-risk sectors tend to be male-dominated. If women are more risk-averse than men, they end up being overrepresented in jobs with lower mean and variance salaries. High-risk-averse workers have steeper indifference curves on the graph. Indifference curve U2 relates to low-risk-averse workers rewarded by higher salaries, and one for with high-risk-averse, that is U1 indifference curve. Now turns to demand-side explanations of gender gaps in the labor market. Employers anticipate those gender differences we discussed earlier when setting wages and making match decisions. Main reasons for employer discrimination are following. Often employers think that women who have children want a less intensive schedule, as a result of which their burden and remuneration is relatively lower. Women are more likely to separate into unemployment, and the employer has to pay vacancy costs for some periods before hiring another worker. Workers' human capital decreases during unemployment or parental leave. When a worker is on parental leave, the firm continues production but at a lower productivity, and the job is kept for when the worker returns. Women are more likely to take a longer parental leave, during which the job suffers from a loss of production and a lack of growth in her human capital. As we mentioned earlier, women value high amenity jobs more. A job with a low amenity faces risk of losing the men to high amenity jobs, whereas the employer faces less of such risk if matched with a man worker, so they prefer to hire men. All these considerations and many others might serve as a basis for employers to statistically discriminate against women even before they have children. The economic effects of labor market discrimination can be shown on a graph. The red MRP curve shows the marginal revenue product for the worker who is discriminated against. This is below the level it should be, that is, black MRP curve on the graph. The MRP for the favored workers is above what they should be in black. So, employers hire less than efficient levels of workers who are discriminated against. The workers are paid less than they deserve. Employers hire more than efficient levels of workers who are favored in turn. These workers are paid more than they deserve. Therefore, this actually increases costs and reduces productivity for employers. Finally, studies find that a large proportion of the gender wage gap, about 44% in early career, is attributed to employers' statistical discrimination based on fertility concerns, whereas human capital explains a majority of the gap, 70% in late career. Both hiring discrimination and preference for amenities draw women to low productivity jobs in early career and slow down their career progression in the long run. Therefore, they end up with low wages and employment. That was all. I hope you find it interesting. Thank you for your attention.